Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing the Arsosala Wash Processed Ethiopia from April Coffee Roasters. And there's the bag right there. And April, based out of Copenhagen, Denmark, and this coffee right here was featured in our most recent blind taste test rankings video, where it finished third place out of 3 April coffees on that day. Now, the reason it finished third was mostly because we just happened to like the flavors of the other 2 coffees on that table a little bit more. If you watch the video, you'll note that during the first run-through, it just left an okay first impression. It was during that second run-through that we were getting a little bit more depth and complexity from this coffee, so we were curious to see how it might develop over the next couple of days. That being said, must be worth noted that these are 100-gram bags of coffee, so we didn't get to try this coffee as much as we would with a lot of other coffees we review on this channel. Same thing with the other 2 April coffees that we're going to be reviewing. This right here is day 28 of this coffee. And April does have a brew guide on their website. It is a 16.67 to 1 water to coffee ratio at 205 degrees Fahrenheit. We brewed it to the Chemex. They are a very light coffee, light Nordic for the roast profile, and let's go ahead and start discussing this coffee. So day 22, which was blind taste test day, and as we noted, okay first impression. What we got to the first run through was a very notable floral, and we commented then that it's that honeysuckle that we note and comment about in so many coffees. It was during the second run through we were getting some really noticeable and pronounced citrus. We would most closely align with lemongrass, lemon, and that would be a theme throughout this cup of coffee. On day 23, it's when we first got the impression of the layered component in this cup of coffee. So at right off brew, it tastes very floral. And that's the only time we were getting some very strong florals. It was after that it cools down into some very noticeable and distinct citrus that lasts for the duration of when you're drinking this cup. The citrus is going to be pronounced from that point on. And then as it's just slightly above room temperature, we are getting some pretty noticeable and distinct stone fruits, most notably the peach. And since this is a washed Gucci, that's something you would very much expect, as peach and washed Gucci coffees go hand in hand very often. Even a slight bit of apricot as well. Day 25, we cannot emphasize the strength of the citrus, as the citrus is by far the most dominant and pronounced flavor in this cup of coffee. It has the most lasting heart in this cup of coffee, as well as it's got the longest finish as well. Leading into some stone fruit finish that is quite pronounced as well, with a slight bit of florals. We'd say that this coffee was pretty consistent. That being said, we didn't drink it over the longest time frame we've ever drank a cup of coffee. Day 27, we did something interesting. So we did see a comment on our blind taste test video where it was noted that April suggests grinding the coffee beforehand and then drinking it after. So grinding the coffee the day before. And we tried that. We only did 12 hours beforehand. So ground the coffee at, I want to say, was it 9 p.m. at night, and then we brewed the coffee at 9 a.m. the following morning. And that being said, the result we got wasn't necessarily the best. So a lot of the citrus components had died down, but we also lost a lot of the stone fruit, the peach most notably. So it kind of tasted like a watered down version of itself. So I don't know if we necessarily got the best results. We're going to try it with the other 2 cups of coffee and see if maybe we get some better results from them. But that being said, didn't necessarily love that process. All right, let's go ahead and put up the tasting wheel so you can see what we're getting. Right, and we have quite a few things at level 4. So, of course, the citrus fruit is going to be at level 4, the cleanliness level 4, finish level 4, acidity level 4, and florals at level 4, as we got so much in this cup of coffee. It's a very light cup of coffee, so this is probably the way you would expect a very light coffee to look in terms of a tasting wheel. Other things worth noting, sweetness level 3, you had almost a bit of everything, as the only thing that has a level 1 in this entire tasting wheel is the berry fruit, slight bit of salt, slight bit of spice. The florals are an interesting one because as the coffee has cooled down even below room temperature at this point, this coffee right here does have a little bit more of the floral. So it was at really, really hot temperatures, and it's at really, really cool temperatures now that we're experiencing this floral. And they have listed on here jasmine, but I know it's kind of interesting when people taste very different things. Never got any jasmine specifically with this coffee, was getting far more of the honeysuckle that we note in this cup of coffee. But yeah, other than that, anything else worth noting? Body, I mean, it's a light-bodied cup of coffee as you would expect. It's a very clean cup of coffee as you would expect. Has a really, really lasting finish, which I'm honestly kind of surprised by, but it definitely lingers quite a bit. All right, overall thoughts and impressions of this coffee. Honestly, I don't necessarily always love reviewing Ethiopian coffees because Ethiopian coffees are no-win coffees. So either you have an Ethiopian coffee that underperforms or you have an Ethiopian coffee that's just good. Because for the most part, we've all had so many Ethiopian coffees in our lives that have really kind of set the bar extremely high that it's almost impossible to even reach the bar for Ethiopian coffee. So it's really hard to judge any coffee roaster based off just an Ethiopian coffee. So with that being said, there were some really good parts of this coffee, most notably the stone fruit finish, which on certain days was just really lovely, pronounced, elegant, and that's the word I will probably use for this coffee, is elegant. But even with that being said, this coffee improved the most from the first time I tried it. But that being said, the okay first impression was kind of the same sentiment I had towards the end of drinking this coffee. It was good. It was not spectacular in my impression. The type of person I would suggest this coffee to is somebody that does enjoy the super light Ethiopian coffees. I know that's kind of a cop-out, but that being said, if you enjoy the citrus, this has a very strong citrus component, and that is by far the most dominant thing. So light profiled coffees with very strong citrus, this is for you. The added benefit of that really delightful peach finish, can't emphasize enough that every time there's a really elegant peach finish like that, it does add some points to a cup of coffee, and it makes it even more enjoyable from that sense. But for the most part, I think I'm going to leave this coffee at that, as we still have 2 more April coffees to review, and we might touch on this one a little bit more in those other 2 videos. But if you've by chance tried this coffee, would also love to know your thoughts and impressions of it as well. I've heard a lot of comments about April in the blind taste test rankings video, but still open to hearing a lot more thoughts and impressions of April as a whole. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been a review of the Arsosala wash processed Ethiopia from April Coffee Roasters. Thank you for watching.